That was good,
That was
man.
good.
That was good.
You did say data though.
Data.
Twice.
I'm a pirate. It also gives me a shallow depth of field when using fat.
When using fat.
Fat, I wanted to say fast, but I said fat. Okay, again. Yo, what's up? We're currently filming a big web series for a commercial client with 15 days of production in 2 different countries. And for this job, I chose the Canon C70 over my Canon C300 III for various reasons. And in this video, I want to talk to you about why we chose the Canon C70 instead of the Canon C300 III for our main camera for this job. So stay tuned, more on that after the intro. My name is Damien Cooper and welcome to Monkey Pits. This right here is our studio setup, and we use this to record interviews of all of our participants, but about 90% is me just shooting handheld with a little bit of gimbal work. And if you're interested in a full behind the scenes of this project, let me know down in the comments below and subscribe to the channel. This is already season 2 of this project, and we already shot an entire season back in April, and for this season I used the Canon C300 III exclusively. But now I decided, knowing what I know now, that a Canon C70 is a much better fit for this. There's multiple reasons for this. Here's reason number 1, and that is the overall weight. I overall really do like my Canon C300 III handheld rig, and there's a link to the full rig tour up here, so check it out if you're interested. But with the V-mount battery and the 7-inch screen, it does get heavy over time, and shooting for consecutive days, especially when you're shooting for 10-15 days in a row, you can definitely feel the weight on your back. Opposed to the Canon C70, which is a lot smaller and lighter, I definitely could feel a difference. And there's also a full rig tour video of the Canon C70 up on the YouTube channel, so click here if you're interested in that as well. Another big factor is the recording formats. On the Canon C300 III, we have RAW and XFAVC, and even the XFAVC still amounts to a lot of data. Yes, you could put it in long GOP, but that is really heavy on all of our computers, and then we would have to transcode or use proxies. So on the last project, we just used the regular XFAVC codec and still ended up with 6 to 8 terabytes for the entire season, which is a lot of data. On the Canon C70, on the other hand, we are shooting H.265 with a 10-bit 422 codec exclusively. And this one is much smaller, and it's very easy on either our M1 MacBooks as well as on the Intel iMac. Reason number 3, and that is a big one, is the lens choices. When shooting this handheld style, especially with a lot of participants in the shots, the 18-35 that I'm currently using on the Canon C300 III on a Super 35 sensor just isn't wide enough. A lot of the times I just need more wide angle. And there isn't really a lot of good options for a solo handheld operator on a Canon C300 III for wide angle lenses. I'm usually using the 11-20 by Tokina, which is a decent enough lens, but pairing this with a really expensive cinema camera isn't really the right fit. The white fit? That was kind of like, you get it? White and right?
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, if you want to use autofocus on either of these lenses, neither of them are a good choice. The Sigma as well as the Tokina are very noisy, and since I'm shooting with a shotgun microphone on top of the camera, you can clearly hear the autofocus the entire time.
On the left side, so you can put it into 50 frames if you want to, on the 7 button.
25 is fine.
So that really brings us to not having a lot of options. Yes, I could use a Canon 16-35 for example, but that doesn't give us that much more wide angle and we lose an entire stop of light. So again, the lens choices aren't really great for the Canon C300 III when I do want to go wide. On a Canon C70 on the other hand, I'm using the original Canon Speed Booster, and that gives me approximately a full frame field of view and therefore a lot more choices when it comes to lenses. Most of the times on this project I'm using the Canon 16-35 2.8 as well as the 24-70 2.8, and both of these are really fine. If I want to go really wide, I have the 16-35, but for most of the times I'm using the 24-70. 24 is a decent number on a full frame sensor to get a lot in the framing, but then I have 70mm to zoom in closer when I need to. It also gives me a shallower depth of field when using fast prime lenses, and I also don't have the autofocus noise problems because the original Canon lenses are basically completely silent. And overall, this makes a huge difference, and it's not about the full frame look per se, but the abilities that I have with a near full frame sensor and the lens choices that I have just do make a big difference. And one more factor to this is that I can get closer to my subjects, because yes, of course, I can get the same framing, I can get the same shallow depth of field on a Super 35 sensor if I just move my camera backwards. But when recording audio on a shotgun microphone, I want to get closer to my subject. Again, I have a lot more options, and overall the image quality as well as the sound is just better with the full frame view and the lens choices that I have. Another factor, although not such a big one, is the easier handling of the Canon C70 if I want to go from handheld to gimbal. And I don't do that too often on this project, but when I have to, it's definitely quicker than it is on my Canon C300 III. And I also talked about this and all the options that I optimized for this Canon C70 rig in my Canon C70 rig video. Last but not least is the audio solution. I never really found the perfect shotgun position for my Canon C300 III. I did find one and it works rather well, but sometimes I still ran into issues where I hit the cable and then you could hear it on the audio on the Canon C300 III, and this one is so much better on the Canon C70 with the tilt-eye cage because you have a dedicated cold shoe mount for it, and that works a lot better. It's also a lot quicker to change gain levels on a Canon C70 with my current solution than it was on a Canon C300 III, because now with the Canon C70 I can do it on the microphone itself, whereas I can't do it on the Canon C300 III, where I have to use the built-in audio meters on the Canon C300, but they're not in a perfect place. So overall I do like the run and gun situation when it comes to shotgun microphones better on a Canon C70 than I do on a Canon C300 III. And I'm pointing in this direction because this is where the Canon C70 is, and nobody knows that but me. But now you know. One more afterthought, and that question might come up, is battery life. On a Canon C300 III, I do have a V-mount battery solution which lasts me for hours. And that was one of my main concerns when switching to the Canon C70 for a project like this. But on a Canon C70, the battery life is so much better right out of the box. So I'm using 100-watt batteries, again, C70 rig video for you to check out. And overall, I would say they're pretty equal when it comes to battery life with the external monitor, so that really isn't a concern for me anymore. So if you have any more questions about my Canon C70 rig or some other concerns that you might have where the Canon C300 might outperform the Canon C70 for a project like this, let me know down in the comments below. If you don't have any more, just smash the like button because it really helps the channel grow, subscribe for more, and hit the notification bell to know if and when I upload a full behind the scenes of this project, if you're interested in that. And I hope to see you on the next one. That was a good outro.
Yeah,
I like
that
that.
was a good outro.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, cool. Cut.
Cut!
No, all good, all good.
So I just...
And then we could do the transition. I just gotta...
No, that was good. That
Yeah,
was
but
actually really
as
good.
well in the end you just gotta freaking work with it.
Fuck it.
Because you're...
Because you're...
You're
Mute.
dragging out a dead body outside.